Hello, and welcome to the wrap up episode of the Inheritance Games with Yaoi Reddit hosts Meggie, that's me,
And Laura, that's me.
and apologies for the clunky opener. I celebrated my birthday a week early at Dave& and Buster's, the illustrious Dave& and Buster's at Atlanta Barclays Center in New York City. This is an advertisement for it. We're not sponsored, but we should be. And yeah, I drank a lot last night after a dry January, so
Oops. Oops. What can
oops.
we do? And it's the irony here is because when we planned this, Maggie was like, "Let's do the morning." I feel like mornings are always a really good idea for us. And then Maggie texted me this morning being like, "This might have not been the best idea, but we're here and that's what's important."
It's so funny too because I was so ambitious that I booked a hot yoga class because I really did like my Sunday last
Yeah,
Sunday, which was I had a hot yoga class and then we podcasted and I felt so centered. I was like, wow.
man.
Didn't do that. No, I stayed up
No.
watching The Last 5 Years until 4 a.m. Which
Which is
why?
kind
Emotionally,
of
where
like a
am
hot
I?
yoga class.
It kind of is. I went through the same highs and lows of a hot
Yeah.
yoga class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about that. Well,
You guys get it. Which character in the Inheritance games do you think would love hot yoga? I kind of think Max would be a hot yoga person or
I think
Pilates.
Xander would actually probably be a hot yoga person.
Oh yeah. Oh my god,
Yeah,
he'd be like the one guy in there, and you're like, because some guys I don't trust in hot yoga. I'm like, I don't really.
yeah.
Actually, most of the guys implicitly, I'm like, they're probably chill in hot yoga.
Yeah, no, every time I see a guy in my hot yoga classes, I'm like, "Wow, you're really branching out, that's awesome."
This is really important. I like figuring out who's where in workout regimens in the
Yeah,
Inheritance games.
yeah, well, because we know Grayson's a big swimmer, we know Xander would be in hot yoga.
I bet Jameson boxes.
I could see that, yeah.
That seems rock climbing to boxing
Yeah, and
pipeline.
Nash is probably, like, horseback rides or something.
Yeah, that's a competitive sport, I think. I have friends who
And
horseback
yeah,
ride.
it's called rodeo, it's a thing.
Oh, he's
Or like,
big rodeo.
what's the dressage?
Oh my gosh, where the horse kinda, like, prances
Yeah,
around?
it's when you have a horse that dances.
This is the important stuff that you guys come to our podcast to listen to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're not talking about the books really at all yet. We're just talking about our opinions on things.
I will say this was an exceptional book series. I know that this was one of the ones that Laura and I read. I would say arguably the fastest. I mean, maybe we've
Yeah,
read
no, I
Hunger
think
Games
this was one
faster.
that, like, in tandem, I think we both have had series that one of us has read faster than the other, but this is one that we both just ripped through so fast. This book series was very, very fun. It was a very, very pleasant surprise. I had no idea what to really go in expecting wise, but it was very, very well done, all things considered, especially given the fact that Jennifer Lynn Barnes had to come up with so many
Games.
puzzles and
Yeah.
games. Like, that's a feat in itself. Like, I feel like I would be like, "They do a Sudoku puzzle." Like
Yeah, absolutely. And I do wonder with this one if she had planned out from the beginning, kind of plotting the arc of the stories,
I feel like you would
because
have had to.
sometimes it feels like it was, and then other times it felt like it was kind of going by the seat of her own coattail, especially I
Yeah.
think when we got to the third a little bit.
Yeah.
I felt that got a little bit clunky.
See, I would guess, and this is of course just my my best guess and wishful thinking. I
Mhm.
would guess that for a book of this long of a plot line, you would have like the main beats plotted,
Mm.
but as you sell, one book and get on a timeline, you have so much more time to write the first and second books. So then by the time you're writing the third book, you kind of have to pick up the pace a little bit. So you might not have as much time to iron out those wrinkles that might be there. um, so that's like the thing because I'm like, well, the reality is we're kind of set up for Toby's disappearance in book two and book one.
Mhm.
I could absolutely see that she had an idea for where a third book could go and might not have known if she was going to get a third book or not.
Luckily it didn't get the Maze Runner treatment, which is knowing you have a movie deal and then just catering everything to action
God,
sequences.
Maze Runner really just had a big fall from grace for me, like,
I
it
know, and
just
I
got
really liked the
so
second book. The
insane.
Scorch Trials was so good.
And, like, yeah, the 3rd book, like, I think I said this because I had read the series prior to doing it on this podcast, and I was like, "The 3rd book just pissed me off," and it pissed me off again, so and I will say this 3rd book, the only thing that pissed me off was just Eve as a character. I felt like I get why
Mhm.
she was there, but I don't think she hit as hard as it could have, but
I always thought that the twist was gonna be that Emily was alive. Did you think that?
yeah, yeah, I thought that for a little bit, but then I think somewhere in, like, book 2, I was like, "Oh, no, she's, like, dead, dead." I
Mhm.
thought like, I did like in this book a lot is it really does have a lot of whodunit vibes that everybody is very suspicious at different points. Like, there was a big time in, like, the 1st and 2nd book that I was like, "Rebecca is so suspicious," and then I was like, "Okay, Thea's really suspicious," and then I really kept thinking, like, "Okay, Zara and Skye could come back into this somehow."
Yeah.
So she did do a lot of characters very, very well, without having us understand like how they're involved with the Hawthorns and how they might have a higher stake in this.
I think that this book series too is super unique because we haven't read one that falls into a category that I don't even know what to ascribe this to. I mean, mystery, thriller,
Yeah.
for sure. But I think that we've read a lot of straightforward dystopian ones, the hot girl books that,
Yeah.
Meg loves, the vampire smut, the fantasy. I don't think we've read anything that is maybe more logic based.
Yeah, like a cuz the interesting thing about this book is like yes, it's a mystery, but it's more puzzles than mystery even.
Yeah, a
So
lot of
it
thought. God, so
yeah,
much
like,
thought
again,
into that.
I can only imagine, like, the again, the outlining and note taking to have everything kind of fall into each other and work together, like, that is a major feat in itself.
And I do think people will always say that there is a specific kind of art that comes out of mass global traumas that
Mhm,
happen, like Hiroshima with the atomic bomb had a lot of technology based fear in theirs. Like, I think I can think of Akira as the one I'm probably thinking of, and
mhm,
then maybe Ghost in the Shell too. And also, they say with the pandemic that a lot of, separate timelines came out. We read Midnight Library, Everything Everywhere was a huge movie. Do
mhm.
you think that kind of like the puzzles, the logic based ones, because Knives Out was pretty big, and I guess that was going into the pandemic. Do you think that like mysteries and thrillers like this are kind of like having a resurgence a
I
little
mean, I
bit?
do think mystery is definitely having a resurgence. I mean, I've talked about this a lot with my friends just when it comes to even, like, film and television media. I feel like we're moving away a lot
Mhm.
from reboots and people are getting more excited by original ideas again. So
Yeah,
I
because
think
there was also that Hulu show where it was essentially like Knives Out on a cruise ship with
oh, are you thinking of The Perfect Couple?
I'm thinking of
That was a mystery on Netflix too.
I don't even know. The oh my god. There's this one guy Mandy Patinkin? Is that a
Yeah,
guy?
he's an actor, sure.
He is in it, and it is basically kind of the same, similar death and other details. It's just, Knives Out on a ship, but
Yeah.
going hand in hand with the conversation of I feel like the mystery thriller
Yeah,
is
no, I
so
think
fun
mysteries are
right now.
definitely having some sort of resurgence. I think the notch against mysteries not even being more prevalent is they're very hard to write. Like
Oh
it
my
is
god, yeah.
extremely hard to plan out a mystery and have it really hit at the end. And it's really really exciting to watch it unfold in a way that's believable, you know?
I feel like too, it's like, I mean, the pandemic sucked, but it did give us a lot of time to think. And I feel like they're so big right now because all you can do is think through scenarios that you could be. So
Yeah.
it's like a foil to that whole alternative universe things where you're just constantly going in a loophole. And I think that the art that has come out of it, similar to, the Inheritance games is one of them because this came out, what, in 2021?
I think the
I'm
first
pretty
book
sure.
came out in 2020, yeah, so, first book 2020, second book 2021, third book 2022. So, it's very possible, she was writing this well ahead of this mystery resurgence that we've been talking about because it's not like she wrote it in 2 months in 2020 and then delivered it. If she did, so impressive. But I would imagine for something like this is something you're probably thinking about for a little bit, right?
2025, year of being Sherlock Holmes
Yeah,
again. This is
think
our
about that.
Sherlock Holmes year.
One pillar we really have to talk about with this book is the love triangle, Maggie.
Yeah.
We've talked about this, like I think touched on it a little bit in the podcast, but I think I would be remiss if we didn't talk about its um effect in the actual novel. I will say,
Mm,
comparatively, if we think about our other love triangles, right? We think of
yeah.
Bella, Edward, Jacob. Pretty obvious love triangle. Bella definitely did have feelings for Jacob and kind of was like hanging with him for a little bit. If we think of Vampire Diaries with Stefan, Elena, and Damon, she very much had feelings for both of them and
Mhm.
very much like kind of dated both of them at a different time.
Yeah,
But
that was the only one that was, like, pretty split, to be
that was
honest.
yeah, that was a very
'Cause
explicit love
Peeta and
triangle.
Gale too.
Yeah, I mean, Peter
Peeta,
and Gale,
ride or
I
die.
always argued that there's not really like a love triangle there because I don't think Katniss has romantic love for Peeta or Gale. So I think that's more of a societal
Okay.
love
Yeah.
triangle, but I digress. But now we have this love triangle between Jameson, Grayson, and Avery. And it's interesting because it's not like she really like it's just more of like longing looks, I feel like, and just kind of like these guys are hot. And then we kind of get this weird dynamic, of course, at the end of the series where she's clearly dating Jameson and clearly even in the
Ugh,
middle books
yeah.
doing things with Jameson, but still being like, but Grayson's here. So I think we need to talk about everybody's involvement in this and how this affects the book series.
Yes, I completely agree because I feel like by the 3rd book, I could understand wanting to set it up. Love triangles are big, and people love to feel at the center of all that attention and feeling fought over. I needed something concrete to happen with Grayson? I was about
Grayson.
to put Grayson. I was gonna combine
Grimace.
them. A couple named Grimace, that is what they are on page 6 with. I needed something concrete instead of just, like, longing, because at that point for a year, okay, it's just shitty to then keep you don't have anything concrete to go on.
Yeah, yeah. So I completely agree with you because I think in the second book it's very pivotal. We see a little bit more like romance between her and Grayson, especially when they have that like ski lift moment.
What
Um,
are we doing? Yeah.
yeah,
And then they also they're
but
sword fighting in their clothes. They should have kissed when they were
yeah,
sword fighting.
exactly. Like, and so I really am starting to think like, oh, she's gonna do something with Grayson. I almost said Gramison too. Um,
Grimace.
Grimace with Grimace, but the fact that we end the second book being like she is fully chosen Jameson and we pick up book 3 a year ahead, and then it's still kind of like her processing feelings for Grayson, it really did lose me a little bit because it really made me dislike Avery more too, because I was like, I was rooting for this girl books 1 and 2, and now I think she's kind of a piece of shit.
It could have been I feel like in the 3rd book too yeah, that's so true. In the 3rd book, or even introducing it earlier, they could have had Jameson get kidnapped and then her and Grayson grow closer as they try to find him. Can you
Yeah.
imagine? Like, Vincent Blake takes him, and then her and Grayson just kinda bond? That would make it even shittier. But I think
Yeah.
that it was it's kill your darlings a little bit. You gotta
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
also, it is so feasible. You're not gonna be a good person as a teenage girl at 17.
No,
Be a little
exactly.
messy. It's
Be a little
realistic as
messy.
fuck.
And it's weird to say that I do think this Emily plot line, in a way, if it had been removed, I think the love triangle would have landed a little bit more because it felt like a lot of like, oh, I can't be with Grayson because there's this girl who looks like me who's dead. And it's like, well, why do we even need that in the first place? Because all Emily's plot line really served was just like for tension between Jason and Grayson and yeah, I the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, I kind of wish this Emily plotline didn't exist. Like, I understand it kind of drew over Rebecca's character, but I feel like there was another way to do that rather than we find out Emily was this actually pretty awful person.
Exactly, and I think that, this is a blanket statement from me, but I don't think that I'm too far off of the mark, which is readers kind of do fuck with romance. And also, when
They
you build
do.
that tension, it makes the pages go so much faster. So, if you had introduced another person to build tension with alongside all of the stakes being heightened outside
Mhm.
of the world, I was like, that would have been fun. That would have been great. Because, I mean, I like Grayson and Jameson a lot in the first
Yeah.
book. Jameson was fun and had me kicking my feet, and then Grayson had an era of mystery to him that I wanted to know so much more about, that I think you could easily balance 2 of them and made the
Yeah.
decision even harder for, like, readers. And then
Yeah.
you're like, "Why not Xander? Why not throw" but not Xander, that'd be too
Yeah,
confusing.
but, like, also, but why not Xander because he's kind of the best one. No, I completely agree with that. I think it's, like, it's weird to say, like, I wish we got more of a push for it because like, it was kind of danced around a lot, but
Yeah.
I really think we needed a little bit more explicitness because that also would have raised the stakes, I think, in the 1st and 2nd book even more of,
Mhm.
like, oh, there's this very obvious kind of romance going on between her and these 2 brothers. Yeah.
I agree. I also sometimes at points, another little criticism that I have with the books was at times it felt like the puzzles were, like, way too easy. And I think maybe by Final Gambit, the 3rd one, is when she kinda realized that, so she was, like, not trying to give them wins all the time,
Mhm.
but I really wanted them to, like, be stumped a little bit or maybe even walk me through how she was solving these things because at times I was just, I think, so confused by what was happening, and I knew that Jennifer had put so much research and time into this that I
Mhm.
wanted maybe a bit more of the puzzle?
I could see that. I think I will disagree with you because I do think like the main
Mm.
puzzle in the first book where we get the reveal that all of their middle names are also a part of a puzzle. And then now we have to figure out what all of those mean. I think some of them were easier for them to find, sure, but I think the kind of ambiguity of some of these
Mm,
puzzles,
mhm.
I think really did well to bring a lot of the tension, like especially with like the Blackwood clue. And it's just like, I guess we just look at all these trees for a long time. Or even like the in the first book when
Yeah.
they're digging through like the mountains of books in the library looking for something.
Oh, yeah,
So
that
I
was
think
pretty
for
good.
me, it served a purpose that maybe some of these puzzles, great. They
I
they
think
can be
the
solved easily, but they're gonna take a long time to solve. Um,
I think the first book was really good maybe with giving puzzles the time. I
yeah.
think maybe by the 3rd I felt rushed because when she solved the one in the chapel where she puts her hands underneath the
That happened very
altar
fast, you're right.
and somehow does Morse code, that one I was like, "This seems like it would have taken forever." Like, the books in the library took them, like, 2 weeks, and I think it took at least 6
Yeah,
pages, which fair.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think I agree with you. I think the crux of the 3rd book for me was a lot of it did feel very rushed, but because we're dealing with both Vincent Blake's main puzzle and Tobias has another puzzle thrown in there, I agree it got a little bit hard for me to juggle like
Mhm.
okay, like Tobias's bag of of props essentially that are all related to different puzzles, and then there's this overarching Vincent Blake puzzle and we're getting shipped things every number of chapters. It I I in a way I it was enjoyable because it made the pace very fast, but I agree I think it didn't hit as hard because there was
Yes.
so much.
Mhm.
So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
that. Absolutely. Which was your favorite book, I guess? I mean, the first is
I mean, it has to be
untouchable.
I think it has to be the first. The first book has such a good setup, and it's so interesting. I think I texted you about this where I was like, the first book when I started reading it, like, it had such just like a normal YA opening that I was just kind of like, oh, I expect this to be kind of lame because like Avery was like, here's the deal, I'm this character and this is my life, and I
Yeah.
was like, yep, here we go. And then it got so interesting and weird so fast because it was just like, yep, and now there's a weird guy in a suit in my principal's office when I'm supposed to be taking a test. And I really liked
Grayson,
the way that she
his
started to
Armani
turn like
suit.
this trope on its head so fast. And yeah, in the first book, you truly do not know what is going to happen next, which I think is
I
so
didn't
hard to
either.
do,
I was right there with her thinking she was just gonna get, like, $1,000.
right?
I did not think that she was gonna get the whole estate
Yeah. Yeah,
so
no,
fast.
exactly. Like, I was like, "Oh, she's involved somehow," and then it was like, yeah, the weirdness of the plot in the first book really is such a driving factor because it's like, okay, you get all these billions of dollars and you're moving into this house. It's like, "Wait, what? What rules are this? That's not normal."
I know, I did feel all of the tension too, reading it, of everyone hating her and getting stressed for her too, as well. Um,
Yeah.
I really did love that. I thought that that was great. There's a healthy amount of distrust. I kinda love that the grandkids were like, "Well, whatever. We were
Yeah,
rich for a while," and all the parents were the ones that were kinda, like, losing their minds, like, "We don't wanna lose
right?
all of our money."
So funny. And I think we do need to talk about I guess like the change of importance in characters throughout this book series or people who were included who
Mm,
kind of seemed like they were going to be helpful or more a part of the plot.
yeah.
Like I'm thinking especially of like Sky, who we kind of just like write off in the third book. I'm
Well,
thinking of
she's
Nash,
queen of the
who
suburbs now in her
yeah,
little
and I'm thinking of like
mansion.
Nash, who's just like always kind of a floater. I'm thinking of Libby, who's super important in the first book, and then it's just kind of
Yes.
there in the second and third books. I'm even thinking of like Thea in a way. Like I was kind of expecting more from that whole like frenemy relationship, but it kind of just was there. So I think we need to spend some time talking about, were these characters ever really necessary, or do we
The
think they were there to
disillusion.
just kind of raise this attention more that it's like, okay, there's more people that could be involved in this.
I think that's so hard when you have a rotating cast of characters
Yeah.
and you have a clear protagonist where it's like, okay, then what do the other ones serve other than just a name you put in to further the dialogue and the
Yeah.
plot? And in the first, they all have, their moments. And I kind of liked, they have the gala for Emily, they have those asides. McLaughlin, why did I put Mick? I don't know, Mallory Laughlin
Yeah.
is like losing her mind and is really drunk. I think that that's the first one. That might be the second one. But I liked those like media moments because you know that that's in there.
Yeah.
And that is where like the one issue that I have that like really fell off too was that by the end it was all games and I was like, but real life is happening alongside this. There has
Yeah.
to be other things that they're kind of like going through cuz I did like the social aspects of the
Yeah.
book quite a bit.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there because I feel like in the first two books, especially, we were dealing with the thought of like, okay, well, Avery still has to go be a person and like go to school and also like manage all of these like paperwork and things. In the third book, it very much was just like, yep, just games, just stakes. And I think we could have had more of those moments of like Avery still has a paper to write tomorrow, you know?
I know it moved away from it so fast and it's like you see yourself reflected in those real life moments.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones, I think that we were talking about the plot so much was like when her and Jameson are trying to distract the bodyguard. So he like goes to kiss her neck and she like arches her back in like the library. I thought that was so fucking cute and
Yeah.
hot. Um, I really loved the human moments of this. And I think with something that is this elaborate and this much of a maze to write, of course you are going to hyper fixate on like the details because it has to be so clean
Yeah.
and you can still have a bit of fun with the plot and
Mm.
sometimes it felt like it was just almost maybe too clean in the
Yeah,
end.
it felt like it had to be one or the other at times in the third book, I agree. It was either like, "Great, we're doing all the puzzles," or "We're having a brief moment of this." Like, there was
Yeah.
those moments there, I think we just needed more of them or to spend more time with them.
Yeah, and it's this one is such a visual element too that I can
Yeah.
imagine that turning this into a book is like so tricky when I so clearly can see it as like a TV show.
Yeah, yeah, no, this would work, this could really only be a TV show. This would not work as a movie because the amount of stuff you would have to
No.
cut out. Like, I beg Amazon Prime to pick this up because I feel like Amazon Prime has proven that they can take a book and turn it into a good TV show.
It is
Um,
so yeah, it would be
yeah,
so
because
true.
like Panic and My Lady Jane, both very, very just well done YA series or books into TV shows. They're doing their due diligence.
Yeah, yeah. I also think okay, so Jameson, Grayson, this love triangle, one has got to be you're attracted to them because you have mommy issues. One's got to be you're attracted to them because you have daddy issues. Who stands for mommy issues? Who stands for daddy issues? Do you think? That's a pretty
Uh,
important question.
I would argue, I don't know, this one's hard because
I think I have a clear answer, so I'm curious where you're gonna go.
yeah, and I think this is an interesting question because it's like,
Thank you.
because it's because you can argue that
Hmm.
they're both equally there, because they're all in the exact same scenario where they don't know who their dad is and Sky is their mom. Sky
Yeah.
doesn't pick favorites. Sky just kind of absenteed all of them.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those things where I'm like, well, is it mommy issues and daddy issues, or is it just plain old other issues? I would argue Grayson more had mommy issues and Jameson more
Okay.
had daddy issues.
Yeah.
But once Grayson meets Sheffield, then can argue that he more has daddy issues.
I think if you have daddy issues, you would be attracted to Grayson because he is distant and cold and absentee. And that to me feels like a daddy issues thing. And
Uh-huh.
then mommy issues is just your mom is probably a narcissist, which Jameson kind of strikes me a little bit as a narcissist. So I
Hmm.
feel like he would be great at being gaslighty into getting you to do what he wants. I mean, truly. So that's my answer, and I'm not even sure if I articulated it well or if
But
I
you're
feel
proud of
concrete about it.
yourself, Maggie.
I just mostly know that to me, Grayson definitely reads his daddy issues.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty important stuff when
It's
you think
very
about
important.
it.
Very hard-hitting content on this podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Even harder hitting content, you guys. I meant to bring this up at the top of the episode. Someone did finally email us about France, and we are over the moon about it.
We are
Thank you,
over the
Z. I
moon.
think that was Z was their name.
Yeah, no,
Um,
we really appreciate it. But,
huge.
I will say that, Z did not tell us anything about French, history. They just asked
We're
if anyone
still
had yet, and we responded, "No, please do," and we haven't gotten a response yet, so the jury's still out.
I kind of like being left unread because it's like interesting, and then it's like, what
Yeah.
does that mean for us? What is it now that you know this information that we don't know about France still?
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh my
Um,
god.
oh, wow.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I'm trying to think, do I have any lingering thoughts on this book series? I
Did
will
you
say
have
I
any
do think
favorite
I
games?
wanna what?
Did you have any favorite games?
Oh, favorite games. I mean, do you mean like favorite puzzles or are you talking just like
Yeah, yeah,
favorite
yeah, yeah.
overall games?
No, I mean favorite puzzles or any twists that truly made you gasp.
That's a really good question, and shoot, I just lost my other thought I was going to make.
Wow.
You go if you have any favorite
Okay.
puzzles.
I think figuring out that Jameson went back when Emily was like I can't breathe. And she was like dying
That was a really good twist, yeah.
on the beach. That was fucking crazy. I do think it is kind of wild. I love that at the end Toby or wait, no, Tobias, too many Tobys, was just like an evil guy.
Yeah, he's
Like,
just a
in
piece
the
of shit.
beginning, he was just kinda like a quirky mystery, and then by the end, it was like, "Oh, he literally picked this just female teenager out of pure spite against her
Yeah.
mom threatening him." He's
Yeah,
fucked up.
very, very satisfying that, like, Tobias, literally, it was all of the reasons. He was like, 1, because I'm protecting my family, 2, because, like, I'm pretty sure if anyone can handle it, you can, and also I'm kind of getting back at your mom for being a dick to me at some point and not giving me
That
what I
was
want.
crazy. For
Yeah.
how much I harp on the chapel altar thing, I thought that that was a really cool puzzle. I wish I
Yeah.
understood how it happened. Also kind of proves that maybe his son could have bested him if he didn't find if Tobias himself had not found this shit. Like
Yeah.
maybe Toby was smarter than his dad, which is kind of crazy to
Well,
me.
yeah, that I think that was always implied is that Toby was smarter than his dad because he figured out the puzzles along the way and found the body and left clues to say I know what you did and left more clues to kind of prove what he knew.
Yeah.
Um But what I was gonna say is I really wanted to talk about the impact ending with this final chess scene that we had.
Mhm.
Specifically how Toby's kind of story ends, where, he throws one of his games, he loses the second, and it almost felt to me like, it just felt like a weird ending because it's like after all of this, like Toby was abducted by this person, and now
Mhm.
it's like, oh, he's just gonna live a normal life, but he's changing his last name. It kind of feels like the stakes
Yeah.
would be higher if somebody had abducted him in the first place.
Well,
And
I
like,
was
and it's
kinda
not even like
shocked
he
that
was gonna be a prisoner at the end. And so I want to hear your thoughts on, I guess, yeah, Toby's ending
I
for
was
the book.
so shocked that in her list of demands, she covered everything. She was like, "You don't say Oren killed Grayson's dad.
Right?
You are not going to take my fortune. You're gonna leave us alone. You're gonna give me Grayson."
But
A
you get
laundry
Toby.
list. But you get Toby, this person who arguably was my stand-in dad growing up. I
Yeah.
think you have a closer relationship with him than
We're
Grayson,
an
I would say.
obligation to him. Like, yeah, I think that's, like, the one thing that didn't sit right with me at the end is I really was expecting, like, yep, Toby, like, either Toby needed to, like, run away or become a Hawthorne again, this weird plot line where he's a Blake now. It just didn't hit for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry. Your blood daughter was a bitch for an entire book, and you're
Yeah.
like, "I failed her as a dad. I feel obligated to stay." I would be like, "No,
She
fuck
doesn't
her."
like you.
Sorry, fuck her. She's kind of rude. She's been holding me ransom
Yeah, all
for
she
the
wants
whole
is money, and
book.
she got it. Like, what do you mean?
She got it. She won. Whatever Vincent Blake is gonna do with her, like her around, I think that that's fine. He's like, all of a sudden, oh my god, he feels like he has to be a dad because Vincent Blake is holding a knife to Eve's arm. Toby's like, I have to stay around and not be there for her as a kid growing up in a household where everyone fucking hated her. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I
Toby,
don't
listen,
know.
just clock out. Your
Just
shift is
clock
up.
out and be like, "Hey, you know
5
what,
p.m.
Eve? It's clear that you actually don't want me as a father, so I'm gonna leave."
Toby pencils down on being a dad.
Yeah.
Lay him
You
down.
missed,
ACT
like
is done.
Toby, you missed the train for, like, the first, like, almost 20 years. I think you're good.
I think that you are fine. I think that Eve can be just a sociopath and
Yeah.
live in this little mansion.
Yeah.
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 I really was shocked that she did not ask for him to be free.
Yeah.
That felt
I
crazy to
I
go
was
the
also
entire
very,
book freaking out.
very, very surprised by that, but,
Oh, that's really funny.
oh, and apparently one of the, follow-up novels, to this series, one of the offshoots, if you will, is about, Jameson's father appearing, so that's interesting.
That's crazy. I think there's also one that
There's a
um
prequel too, I think.
I think there's the Brothers Hawthorne, which
That's that's
seen
the one where
on
Jameson's father comes back.
I've seen on Book Talk. I think it is different differing POVs between
Yeah.
Jameson and Grayson. And it seems like everyone really loves Jameson's point of views, and then everyone will be sleeping through Grayson is what I have
I mean, the thing is,
surmised.
Grayson had so much potential, but he really just lost me by, like, the final book. I was so over him.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure.
Um,
I know. I hope
I
Xander
think,
and Max end up together though.
yeah, honestly, the most couple goals out of everybody in the book, actually, because they have clearly the healthiest dynamic.
Yeah, they're cute.
I think I have spoken my piece, Maggie. Do you have any thoughts
I don't think
lingering?
I had thoughts to begin with today, so I think it's really impressive that I
You're like, the
showed
fact that
up.
I actually started thinking is very impressive.
Exactly. And if you want to continue to be impressed by us, you can email us about France and explain it to us.
Thank
Ooh,
you.
pretty exciting stuff. Thank you. At Maggie and Laura present at gmail.com. Um, you also honestly tell us what you're up to, where you're at. I'm trying to run audience surveys now to figure out our demographic. So
Yeah.
what's your it's just I'm trying to figure out how to make our podcast better in the new year.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. And I think we're on social media still.
We're on
I'm
Blue
trying to figure it
Sky,
out.
we're on the other social medias, we're figuring it out as I think everybody is in
It's
this
so
new
funny.
year.
Yeah, I had a meeting with a marketing manager, and we both were just like, what do we advertise on now?"
Yeah, we
So,
don't
who
know.
knows? We're
But
around.
what we will advertise is where We Are We Reddit is going next. What a lovely segue. Um,
Yay!
we are going to see you guys in a couple of weeks with a special one-off for a novel called First Love Languages, written by Stephanie Valentine. We'll actually be sitting down with Stephanie and talking to them about the book. And then we're back for a full-length season that I'm very excited about because we'll be reading The 100, also a very, very good television show, and I've never read the book, so I'm very excited.
I was at a party actually where the television show got brought up on Friday, and
Oh,
I
it's
didn't
so
know the
worth it.
plot at all, and now that I
Whew.
do, I'm like, "Oh, this sounds fun as hell." So I'm really excited.
I ripped through the first couple of seasons. It
Uh-huh.
falls off towards the end because it's a CW show, but the first, like, few seasons, I'm like, "The CW made this? What? This is so good."
I've heard it's like a better Lost, and you know me, I
In a
love
well,
Lost.
yeah, it is because, like, the I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say the little bit of
Yeah,
the
just
plot for you,
just do
Maggie.
it.
So basically what it is dystopian future. The Earth is uninhabitable. People are living in a space station. They send down like 100 teenagers that have been dubbed prisoners by the space station to go see if the Earth is inhabitable now because the space station
Mhm.
is about to run out of oxygen in a couple of years. So these 100 teenagers just crash land on Earth and they can kind of live there, but the Earth has a bunch of things going on with it that they have to figure out and avoid and survive.
That's so cool,
It's
that's
gonna
so
be
fun.
awesome. I'm really excited.
Alright, well, we will see you for the next few months. We'll take a break too, and I don't know, we'll just,
Yeah, we'll see
we'll
when
be
we'll see.
around.
You'll see if you subscribe to us, you'll get notifications, you know?
Yeah, you're fine.
All
You're
right.
fine.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.